Waffle, waffle, waffle.
Hello and welcome to Rollin. I'm the ever excitable Adam, and you're joining me here in my kitchen to talk about, well, Western Legends and the plethora of things I have for it. But before we do that, let's talk about Rollin as a whole. So UK Games Expo is very exciting. It's very soon. The end of the month, it can't come soon enough. I am so much looking forward to going there for the first time in several years. It is an absolutely huge convention, so many people to meet, so many games to play, and only so many days to do it in. There's a Thursday press night, so on the Thursday press night, I'll be going along, I'll be filming stuff, interviewing people, and basically doing some live streams as well. So if you want to check that out, then stay tuned to the channel and you'll hopefully see me on here, depending on the internet connection, at the NEC. If you don't see me on here for that, then don't worry, because I will probably just drive home afterwards after playing some games, and then just do a kind of late night kind of sum up of everything. So Western Legends is a game that I picked for my kind of waffle today for a couple of reasons, but I was kind of reminded about Western Legends because Colossal Games, the guys who make this, have actually got a new Kickstarter coming out, which is fantastic because they've got a completely new game from the looks of it. It looks like it's got some similar elements to it, but it seems a lot more narrative based. I don't know, they've not really said much about it, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, Western Legends, that is a fantastic game I own and rarely play these days. So I thought I'd talk about Western Legends because, because I'm thinking of it, because of the Kickstarter campaign that's going to be coming out at some point in the not too distant future. What else is there coming out? There's loads of stuff coming out. Dungeon Saga Origins, I believe you can now actually buy that. If you didn't back the Kickstarter, you can now get a physical copy of that. And I saw them advertising their Glimmer of Greed expansion, which are obviously still going through on the channel. What else is there? I feel like there's loads coming out at the moment, which I'm really excited about. So many games I'm hearing about. Pandora Celeste is going to be at the UK Games Expo. I highly recommend checking that out if you're going to go there. And one of my waffles will be talking about some of the games that I know are going to be there, which I'm going to hunt for, and we'll show you some of that footage on the channel as and when we get to there. But yeah, I just can't wait to play Pandora Celeste with some other people out there. It's a fantastic game. It's a kind of sci-fi horror kind of cooperative game. Yeah, really well put together, a lovely presentation, lovely prototype box. So yeah, there's that. Also looking forward to playing with Mike Nade, the guy Mike Gennard, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. The guy who did Maximum Apocalypse, fantastic little kind of system in the series. Rock Manor Games do loads of really fun games with some lovely artwork. And yeah, they're going to be there this year, so hopefully we can pop by their stall and see what they've got on offer. Lots of role-playing games, and Thursday night is going to be fun because after the press night, hoping to meet up with some other content creators and play some games. And I'm going to be bringing along Fiasco with me because honestly, I think that's such a fun and yeah, such an interesting game. I actually played that this evening with my kids, and we had an absolute blast. Me, my partner, and my kids had a great go of it. My partner's not especially into games that much, so it was fantastic. She got involved and she really enjoyed it. And yeah, collaborative narrative games, I'm having more and more time for them, as you would have seen in my last Waffle Wednesday if you watched it. What else? So painting at the moment. Painting has dried up. I've got a lot going on at the moment, so I've not been able to get stuff to the table. I was really hoping to film the next Shadows of Brimstone. I've not got around to that, and I've had some issues with videos in the edits, so yeah, it's kind of a bit crappy, but hopefully moving forward we'll have some fun content for you guys. They're not too distant. Anything else? What have I been playing? Well, I obviously played this, and that is about it. I played a bit of Western Legends. I played a bit of Pandora Celeste. I got out Arkham Horror, set it up, and then put it back again. And I also played, what else did I play? Fiasco, which was great. Slay the Spire, by the way, is a fantastic game. If you get a chance to play it, definitely give it a go. well worth your money if you're looking to get a copy of that. It's so cool. So yeah, Slay the Spire, I highly recommend that. Anyway, let's talk about Western Legends. So Western Legends is a sandbox board game. What that means is basically you can pretty much do anything you want. You are a legendary character from the Wild West, and all based on historical characters as far as I'm aware. And you are basically trying to get a set amount of legend points. It's essentially victory points, but you're trying to be the best legend. Now you can see just here on my table is actually a playmat for this game. Now when I got when the kind of expansions were coming out, I did back this with the wanting to get this because I feel like when you have a game that you play a lot, and Western Legends is a game I used to play quite a lot, and it only kind of came off the shelf because of other games and running a YouTube channel. You don't get to play the games you enjoy playing as much as trying out loads of different games. So things like Shadows of Brimstone, for instance, and Western Legends, Lords of Hellas, Nemesis. These games I really enjoy playing due to having a content creation that I've, forcing myself to do. They've just kind of been gathering dust for a little bit. So so in this game, you are trying to get legendary points. Now, you can get legendary points by a plethora of things. That's the joy of sandbox games. You have a set goal, which is victory points normally, and you can get there any way you wish. You can go down the track of being a outlaw, so you can do nasty things. So you could go and steal cattle from one ranch and take it to the other one. You can rob the bank. You can attack other players. There's just a ton of different things that you can do as a bad guy in this. And there's a little wanted track on the board. But basically every time that at the end of every round, you get legendary points, depending on how far up that track you are. Now, what's interesting about that is it does mean people who go down the wanted track start gaining legendary points quite quickly. So it's in the best interest of everyone else to try to get rid of the outlaws. And you do that by either turn them in yourself by tracking them down and hunting them, or by getting the sheriff to do it for you. The sheriff is a kind of NPC that moves around the board depending on cards that are drawn out, and you can also move them as well. So you can go to the wanted track. Like I say, you can be a wanted outlaw. You could also go down the martial track. So that's where you do lawful things, like defeating outlaws and arresting bad guys, and just generally being a do-gooder. So that's the martial track, and in the base game you have those two different tracks, and you also have a story deck. Now the story deck, it has different kind of events that come up, and you have to achieve what it says on the card. So it might say end your turn outside of town, and the longer you've done that, you can put one of your tokens on the story deck, and depending how many players you have, once all these circles, which are normally 2 to 3, are filled up, then you flip it over, and anyone who had their kind of wooden circle on that card scores whatever bonus they're going to get. So that's normally some legendary points, maybe some legendary gear, maybe some money, loads of different things. So the story deck's interesting as well. That it comes up with some thematic stuff that's going on and spawns new bandits out and tells you what the sheriff's doing. So there's that. The martial track as well, you only get legendary points at the end of the game, depending on where you're on there. So you don't get that every round. It's not crime pays, whereas the martial track doesn't really pay straight away. You do get legendary points for landing on stuff, but you don't get them at the end of every turn. Now the actual board for this is normally, about half a table length, I'd say. But with the expansion, it brought out a completely new area, which is currently underneath this. And it also brought in a train that you can rob and you can ride to this new area, as well as a bunch of other things. But let's carry on with just the base game. So in the base game, there's, like I say, you'll trying to get legendary points, and you don't have to go down this wanted track or the martial track if you don't want to. There's plenty of other options. One thing that is a great thing you can do in this game is you can go panning for gold. So you can basically go to one of the couple of gold mines on the map, and you roll a couple of dice and you get gold from it, which is great, because you can then take that gold to the bank, and for every gold you're turning in, you're getting legendary points out of it. So you don't have to be a good guy, a bad guy. You can just pan for gold. You can also win games of poker and you'll get legendary points from that. You can do duels with other people, you get legendary points for that. For getting cattle to the train, you get points for that. And also for every like I think $30 or something you spend at the saloon, you also get legendary points for that. And once you got to the kind of the point in the game where you're like, well, we're playing for 15 points. Once you get to that, there's actually a chance there's a catch-up mechanism. So you can actually finish the game, everyone gets one last turn, and then you go to end of game scoring, and then people can actually pip you to the post. They can actually leapfrog you due to where they are on the marshal track. They can have personal goals they're trying to do as well. There's a little variant you can play this game where you have a personal objective that if you meet, you get legendary points. And also for gear they've got, all the gear in this game that you pick up, you can actually upgrade, and it gets you legendary points at the end of the game. Like I say, just a plethora of things to do in this game to get you legendary points. And yeah, the end scoring isn't for everyone because some people could get a bit annoyed. I know Alex, whenever he plays a game, if there's that kind of end of game scoring where he thinks he's won, but then somebody's got, a couple of cards and it means they actually go above him, it really frustrates him. But I think for me, I quite enjoy the fact that even if you don't land on the kind of target score, there is still a catch-up mechanism. You could have been doing really well in other ways in the game, and people haven't been watching what you've been up to, and then you manage to kind of win at the end of it. So that's basically essentially how the game plays, and I just love the theme of it. I love the kind of the Western kind of setting. The thing is, before I had Western Legends, I don't really like Westerns. In fact, before I played Cult Express, Wild West was not really a theme that I was really into. With Shadows of Brimstone, obviously that is a Wild West board game, but it's a Wild West horror game, and it was more the horror I was interested in rather than cowboys. But after I played Western Legends, I actually realised, I've got Cult Express, I've got Shadows of Brimstone, I've got this. Do I like Westerns? It turns out I do like Westerns. They're pretty cool. So the board itself, let's get some components out. Let's talk about some components. And I've got everything you can get for this game, I believe. You can get some 3D terrain, which makes kind of pop it up a bit more. I didn't get that because I wasn't playing it enough. But this isn't a good indication of everything you get inside this box, because I've got 3 boxes here. I've split stuff out from each of these boxes, and the ante-up expansion is the lid's not even flush, so I don't know what I've done with that. It's also worth noting that there's several little additional boxes you can get, which were like Kickstarter exclusives, or I think you can buy them separately, some of them. The thing is, I didn't really have space for them, so I destroyed the boxes and just put all the cards into these things. Let's talk about mats before I get into this. So the mat is too big. The mat is way too big for anybody's table, unless you are, I know you've got an absolute huge board gaming table. I'd love to play on this mat, but I just don't have the space. And the reason you don't have space is if it was just this kind of mat out, it'd be fine. But the player boards are about that size, maybe a bit bigger, and you can't fit them on the table, as well as all this lovely kind of artwork and map stuff. So that is a shame. So yes, looking into this box, I really have kind of taken things out and moved them around. So also some of the stuff moved around in transit, so I'm going to have to slightly edit this maybe, because the general store is always a bit tricky to get this out. Okay, so here is the general store. This is basically all the items and things you can pick up in the base game. They all have prices on them, and you've got various things in here from different kind of and like horses you can have, as well as different equipment you can have, and weapons as well. And all weapons have like a little kind of lovely picture on there, as well as they tell you what happens, what special thing happens there, have a cost on that, and if you pay the cost again, you can upgrade them to have a legendary ability and name. So yeah, the general store looks fantastic. It looks like wood. It's really well kind of constructed, and it's easy to build and it's easy to assemble. So in the base game, you have one of these, but with the 2 expansions that you can get for this, you have got a traveling trader, as well as a trading post. So once again, real estate in this game is rare, because it's not rare. It's sought after. You're not going to have enough space to play this on a regular table if you're using this mat. The actual size of the board, if you don't have the mat, without the expansion, is, I don't know, it is actually shorter than the mat by quite a bit. So yeah, it's kind of that size, which I'd say is a regular size board. You still can't quite get the player mats onto a regular table as well as this. You kind of have to shift things around. And if you're playing with 6 players, you are going to need a bigger table and more time. I would say with this game, it probably plays best between 3 and 5 people. I think the sweet spot is probably 4 for this game, just because players' turns can start taking a bit longer. It's quite quick getting into it, but yeah, when people have got analysis paralysis. Yeah, so that's the board. And let's have a little talk through the board. So what's interesting about this is we have, at the very bottom, we've got our legendary track, this thing down here. We've got all the different locations on there and symbols on here. Now the symbols relate to different things you can do. We have our story deck over here, we have our wanted track, our martial track, and then over here we have places to put the various different cards you've got on this and the money. So that's the board. It's really lovely to look at. I'm a fan of the artwork in this game. I think they did a fantastic job, as I do with a lot of games with good artwork. But yeah, so that's the board. Like I say, I've just sorted everything in here. You can buy a big box, which is just an empty box that you can put all this stuff into. And maybe I'll think about it sometime, but it's quite expensive for what it is. So obviously we have some rules in here. Now the rules that come with the base game, here we go. So the rules for this, there's 20 odd pages. Yeah, 21 pages. Now what's important, as somebody who has played this game multiple times and has taught this game multiple times, made some errors multiple times, what's very important is that you go to page 21 and you read out the end of game before you begin the game. This is because at the end of the game, it tells you how you can get some additional victory points. And several times I've played this and forgotten to actually go through that end of game bit. I've kind of felt like I've cheated people out of a victory because they weren't aware of certain things. So it's very important that people know the end game kind of conditions and what can happen there, especially if they're invested in playing this. So yeah, page 21, definitely read that out when you're teaching this to the people at the table. Everything else is pretty straightforward, the actual gameplay. So you start your turn by drawing 2 poker cards. Now the cards in this game are poker cards, and these basically act as various different things. They have actions on them, they have values on them. The poker cards have special abilities on them as well. You're going to use them when you are trying to fight other people. Whoever's got the highest value wins that. You are going to be trying to use those in actual games of poker, and you're going to use them for the actions which are on them. So lots of different options with the cards you have, and very thematic with this really. So you can draw 2 poker cards at the start of your turn, or you can draw 1 and $10, or you can draw $20. After that, you got the action phase. You've got 3 actions in that, and you can do that moving around. Now, the movement in this game is really simple. You're basically just moving from one kind of little sector to another little sector, depending on what your speed is. Your speed is whatever speed horse you have, or if you're on foot. There are some restrictions to movement, so you can't move over the kind of the rocky terrain unless you have a character that enables you to do that, or an ability that allows you to do that. You also, if you move into a bandit space, you have to start a fight. You can use an action on a card as well. So like I said, there's some cards which have actions on. You can fight another player, and you can also take a location action. Location actions are a lot more kind of involved. That's, you know, which I referred to earlier, like mining for gold. You could be wrangling cattle. You could be going to the shop to buy stuff. You could be going to the saloon. You could be gambling. Loads of things, or depositing gold in the bank. You don't have to rob it. So yeah, lots of different things you can do. And then at the end of your turn, if you've managed to kind of trigger a story deck, then you flip that over and you read out the what happens. Then there's some end of kind of turn scoring if you're on the wanted track, or maybe you've got some other conditions. But yeah, the turns are pretty simple, 3 actions each. Like I say, once you've got a lot of people playing at the table, it can really stretch. So if you are going to play this at a higher player count, you definitely need to make sure people know they're going to be there for at least 2.5 hours to 3 hours, which can be a lot depending on your group. There's some really good player aids in here. So, you know, I could have just been reading off this. That would have been much easier. So you can go to the bank. You can gain $20 and 1 legendary point for each gold nugget you deposit even. You can heist. So if you win, you get 3 wanted points and $80. But if you lose, you gain 1 wanted point. You go to the cabaret, you gain 1 legendary point for every $30 you spend. You go to the doctor's office, and you can pay $10 to lose all wounds. Now, it's worth noting in the base game, the wounding kind of element of this didn't really penalise people too much. It basically means your hand limit is not as good. Yeah, it's not great. It kind of reduces your hand limit a little bit. But I'll be honest, the first time we played this game, and several times we played this game, the wounded kind of conditions don't really matter so much. They do penalise you at the end with some loss of victory points, but generally it didn't really matter so much. They did add some additional injuries into later expansions, which does actually make those injuries a lot more risky. You do want to get rid of them. So yeah, that's a good addition they did in the expansions. But in the doctor's office, you pay $10, get rid of all your wounds, and you get to draw a poker card for each wound you lose. There's also the general store and trading post, where you can basically buy stuff and upgrade things. You can mine. And yeah, that's the saloon. You can, like I say, you can basically gamble. And you don't have to know poker. There is a thing in the rulebook that tells you what hands beat what. And what's also fun is if there are other people in the town, they can also kind of join you in that game of poker. So you can get everyone involved, which is quite nice. The player aids are great. They're double-sided. They go through all the kind of information you need to know, and there's enough for everyone. So that's some of the components from the base game. But like I say, they're spread out everywhere. So we're going to go to Ante-Up next. So Ante-Up, have a rulebook for Ante-Up. And Ante-Up, the main thing they brought, the new kind of thing they brought here, some new characters, but they brought in the new sideboard. So the sideboard is basically this new area, which is Buzzard Gulch. I'm just reading from down here. You get a new card game to play, a game called Fargo. Is it Fargo or Faro? I can't remember. It's called Faro. It's been so long since I've actually played that. And when we played this before, we didn't really do much of the gambling. What this does bring, though, is it actually brings the train, so you can actually do a train robbery, which is, you know, really on kind of theme of the game, of what it's going for. You can also gamble as well. There's now a gambler track. You can gamble in the one without the expansion stuff in the core game, but with the gambler track, it really adds. It makes gambling more of a kind of reward for actually. If you're good at gambling, you could easily beat everyone else and get all those legendary points. So the gambling kind of side of this, like, wasn't really something I kind of paid much attention to. And to be fair, when I have played with other people, gambling has not been something people have really been that keen to do. They've been more focused on, being their best outlaw or whatever. But yeah, so it adds that. Like I say, it's got the train in there. It's got some new different in the Buzzard Gulch area. There's different random tokens you can be putting down. So every time you play, you're gonna have a different kind of like things happening there. The variety in that area is quite good. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Train heists. I mean, what's not to love about, you know, train heists? And if you've got enough time, you could obviously get a game of Cult Express out and then actually play that out in real time. So the player aids as well, you get quite a few of these. In the later expansion, they give you more player aids to go into a bit more detail, a bit smaller maybe. So depending on which game you're playing, because you can, what's really nice about this is with expansions, you can just, let's say for instance, I really don't want to be playing with a traveling salesman. I don't have to play with that with the blood money stuff. If I really didn't want to use the gambling track, we wouldn't need to. If I want to say, oh, I like some elements of anti-up, but I don't want to have all of them in the base game, I can just pick and choose what I want, which is great. So yeah, so that's something that's really nice about this. So depending on what you're playing, you can choose a different player aid. We've got our blood money rulebook there. We have the train track and gambler track. So if you don't have the map, this basically will slot at the very top of your board. And then you've got your expansion area, the Buzzard Gulch, just here, and that goes off to the side. So you've got your game of cards down here, and you've got the new locations here, and including the trading posts up there. So yeah, and all these numbers on here, these are various different random kind of locations. So yeah, that's where you're going to be putting down different tokens, which you don't notice on the other side of them. Okay, so these are the player kind of boards. Now they're double-sided. One side has got this legendary bit up here. You can't really see in the lighting here, so me showing you stuff's not going great, I'm afraid, guys. But there's legendary tokens up here, and as you do legendary kind of your goals, you'll be pulling out legendary tokens and putting them in there. And the legendary tokens come out of a bag. They can be quite good, they can be useless, and you won't know until you actually get out of the game. In the end, there's another side that doesn't have those three kind of pips on there. That's the only difference between the two sides. What's nice about the thing as well is you know where to put your weapon, where to put your horse. There's a place for all your money. There's your nuggets, and there's a little tin down here, and items up there, as well as your wound thing down there. Now the thing about the wound thing is, when you're playing with this on the table, it's very easy to lean, and because this isn't like recessed or anything, you can easily just lose that wound kind of initial token. Now in the expansions, they actually come out with some better kind of wooden tokens and stuff for that, so it's not so much of an issue. But yeah, it's been several times I played a game and nudged this. So there's a lovely train miniature, which you'll be moving around the board and stuff. You've got the base game, you've got these dice as well, which are your kind of panning for gold dice, your gold mining. And there's like a gold nugget to say you get gold nugget. There's dollars on there to say you get money. There's dollars in a little kind of arrow which says you get dollars and you get a roll again. And the next to say you don't find anything. So yeah, that's pretty nice. It's a nice chunky kind of component there. And the actual gold nuggets are lovely. You get some plastic gold nuggets in this game. And they just look and feel very nice. I'll try and take a picture of these or something maybe so you can actually see up close how nice they are. But the components are just really lovely. You get a ton of cards in this game. You get story cards, you get your player cards. So the players themselves, the different characters you can play as, they all play quite differently. I mean, they're very much the same. However, different starting locations, different starting equipment, and maybe they start on the wanted track, maybe they start on the martial track. When you choose one of these characters, they do have a kind of they are more leaning towards a particular way. So you might, but it doesn't matter. You could start off as a lawgiver, a marshal, and then actually decide I'm going to break the law. And this character, who historically was a lawful character, you would actually turn them into the best bandit in the West, which is nice. But they do kind of lend themselves to playing in a particular play style. So when you first play this game, with new people, you might want to have a look at some of the characters and give them a bit of advice that, oh, this character plays this particular, he's got a much better, or he or she has a much better chance of winning going down this route than they would if they were going down this other route. But yeah, once you play this a few times, you start playing with different characters and you start to get favorite characters, and maybe how well some do against other kind of characters. But generally, there's so much you can do in this game. It doesn't really matter which character you have. You're always going to have a really fun time playing it. The actual miniatures for this game are quite nice as well. You could paint these guys up. I didn't bother painting any of them up, but they are really, really cool. You get a little sheriff character as well, and there's some kind of plastic clips you can put on the bases, so you know which character belongs to which playmat, which player. There's a bunch of wooden components that you can get for this game as well, which include like bullets, which kind of look a bit phallic, if I'm honest. And yeah, various cubes and counters. You get a ton of tokens in this game, double-sided tokens which represent the various cattle that you can steal, or you can just wrestle rather than wrangling. And you won't know until you actually get them to where their kind of destination before seeing how valuable they are. But yeah, they are pretty cool because you have that variety in there. You have got a kind of AI deck for the bad guys. Well, any fight you're having with an NPC is going to be played with a deck of cards. And even when you lose a fight in this game against, whether that be another player or whether it's an NPC, you actually do come out with something. You never kind of come away, completely empty-handed, which is nice. What else to say? Expansions. So you just need the base game. You do not need Ante-Up to really enjoy this game. However, saying that, I do feel that the injury is not kind of the injury side of things isn't really that detrimental when you're playing the base game. So I believe Blood Money introduced this injury dice, which does make kind of the injuries a lot more deadly. You just don't want to get one. They're less desirable, I'd say. So I would recommend maybe Blood Money just for that element. And if you are a completionist, you're gonna want to get this thing. As far as I'm aware, this is all pretty readily available. And like I say, there is a new expansion coming out. Well, I say new expansion, it's not an expansion. It's a completely new game of this, I think. I think it's a completely new... you don't have to know how to play this game. I'm pretty certain it's not. It's only related in perhaps name. The gameplay might be quite different. Thing is, it's very early days with it. I don't know enough about it to actually be able to tell you much about it at all. And this kind of one here, Blood Money introduced a new story system as well. So the story actually is a lot different. Now, I've never played with this. But the story cards normally were 2 different decks of cards. Now it's just 1 deck. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays. But like I say, I've never played it. One thing to note as well is, as well as all the different characters you get in this, all the different goals and abilities and stuff, you also get a special mode called Man in Black, where there's just 2 of you and you want to play with you want to play with each other, then the Man in Black is for you. This is essentially an NPC character that the game basically just sends against the person who's winning. So it's a really good way to kind of balance out a little bit, because especially the first couple of games, one person could easily kind of click with this game a lot quicker than other people and really, get to the point where they're zooming ahead of everyone else. With the Men in Black rule, this guy comes in and he basically just attacks mostly the person who's in first place. And you are in a rush to try to beat him as well, because he can win the game by getting to a requisite legendary point number. So you are playing against the other players at the table as well as him. Now I believe the man in black, you can play with other kind of player ranges, but I think it's primarily for 2-player that he actually comes in. It can kind of break the game a bit when you try and mess around with the rules a little bit. Because I know that when we initially filmed our Western Legends kind of review, we played with the man in black, and there was 3 of us, and it did kind of feel a bit, I don't know, didn't feel very balanced. So I think you should only just play that with kind of two players when you got the man in black. The Blood Money expansion, I barely touched, guys. It has got a ton of additional stuff in there. A traveling salesman. It has got the wound injury dice. You can actually buy properties in it now. There's different gangs in there. There is, what else is there? The new story systems in there. There's just a ton of different little things you can add to your game to make it kind of just refine it to your kind of game style and the kind of people that are coming around to play the game. If you're playing us with children, you might just ignore all the stuff and just play with the base game, or maybe you'll keep the train in there because robbing a train's pretty fun. Whereas if you're playing with some really kind of hardcore strategy guys, you might get the entire everything in this game and just chuck it in and be like, right, let's do this. Let's set aside 4 hours of our day to have a 6-player game, and we're using everything. That to me actually sounds really fun, and I'd like to try that sometime. What's also worth noting is you can get this hardback book, which is a rule book that helps you know how to play the game. Obviously, there was a rulebook for the original game, there's a rulebook for the Ante-Up, and there's also a rulebook for Blood Money, as well as some correction cards that come to replace some of the cards in Western Legends, the original. This book here is invaluable. It really goes into detail of everything. You don't have to be flitting between the Western Legend core book to the Blood Money book to the Ante-Up to try and figure out, they introduced this rule into this particular one, where is that? All this is in this hardback book, and also this book comes in really handy as well because it has some additional variants in here. All of them come with some form of variant, but this one has some really fun game modes, different player counts. So if you've played this a couple of times and you're like, yeah, I know how to play this, I'm enjoying this, you can try playing with a different theme, like a bit more of a narrative in there. Overall, guys, I know I've been waffling on about this and probably not very interesting, I don't know, but Western Legends for me is one of those games I will keep. A lot of the games I have in my collection, I'd probably move on due to the amount of games I don't get to play. But I would say that Western Legends is one of those, I'm waiting for my kids to get to a point where they don't bend cards when they're playing the game or have the cards in their mouths, because I think they'd really enjoy this. And it's one I can play with my wife as well, which is great. My regular gaming group, I'm going to get this to the table soon because I think they'd really like this. And with a new Kickstarter coming up, it's nice to show people what's out there and what they could be excited about coming forward. So yeah, Western Legends, it's just, it scratches an itch for me. I've had various different sandbox games before. I enjoy sandbox games. I think they're good. Some people can run away with a victory quite quickly. Which, when you're playing a game that takes 2 to 3 hours, that can be a bit frustrating. So I really enjoy, it feels very balanced, this game, from every game I played anyway. I love the theme of it, I love the components for it. Everyone knows exactly what they're getting into when they sit down and play a game of this. It doesn't have a really high entry level as well. I feel you could sit down and you could explain this to a casual gamer and they would get that in a round or two. They'd be on it. They'd know, right, these are the different things. They do those things. And, I know how to win this. And you can just play this and have fun. A lot of times I play board games and I don't really have a plan. I'm just either learning it for the first time, or I'm just enjoying some of the mechanisms in it, or I'm just enjoying living my best life. When I played, I think, maybe it was Great Western Trail I played, and I think I came last in it, but I wasn't really. I was just enjoying doing stuff. Didn't really have a plan. So yeah, excuse me. So that's Western Legends. Like I say, this is a game I will never get rid of. It is fantastic fun. It is just easy to teach, a joy to play, and yeah, it's just endless. You could keep playing this if you love westerns and you want to play a board game. I'd say Western Legends is above everything else I've played. Definitely something you should check out. There are a couple of other games I've not played, like Bantam West, Bantam. Yeah, I think there's a Bantam game that looks fantastic. There's a couple of other Western games out there. There's another one on GameFound at the moment, I think. But yeah, I don't feel like there's anything that really does what this does as well as this does it. But there are some strategies you can kind of just keep going every time you play this. But yeah, I feel like people catch on pretty quick. I love the wanted track in this. I love the wanted system because you can have somebody come into this game, do some illegal activity, and they can really start to run away with the legendary points. And it then kind of gives you a sense of urgency to try and take them out, to try and arrest them, to try and get the sheriff to go and sort them out. So it's kind of like a bit of a collaborative effort with everyone at the table to try and keep that person from, running away with a victory. But yeah, it's just, it's if you want to be an outlaw, or you want to be a marshal or a gambler, or whatever, this has everything for you. Yeah, it's just a fantastic, well-balanced game, really well designed, lovely components, lots of thought has gone into this game. The game mat, too big for an average size table. If I was going to recommend this game for someone, what to pick up with this game, I'd say you only really do need that Western Legends core box. You don't need to get all the expansions. The Anti-Up does add a bunch of additional stuff with a new sideboard, so if you are getting a bit bored of the what's happening in the main kind of two towns, then yeah, having that sideboard is pretty good because you get a different type of cattle in there, and it adds a bunch of extra components for the base game and some variety stuff as well. And Blood Money just brings you just a bunch of additional content, so different rules, different cards, different yeah, just loads of different things. And the injury side of that as well, the fact that you can actually the injuries a real threat in there is fantastic. So yeah, that's Western Legends for you guys. I think it's a game that I'm really going to be keeping an eye out for that new Kickstarter, because I haven't backed a game for a while, and I don't really think I will be backing many games in the future. But this is one I'll be really interested to see what they do with it, because yeah, it's just a really fun setting, really fun system, and I'm interested to see where they go going forward. So yeah, that's Western Legends in a nutshell. I've been the ever excitable Adam. If you've played this game and you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to have a chat with you about it. If you've played other Western games which you think are better than this, I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's about it from me. You'll be seeing me on another Wednesday, not too far away, where I will be talking more about the UK Games Expo and the games that I'm looking forward to playing there, the people who are going, the sites we're going to see, and hopefully we'll be seeing those together, because you can join me here on Rollin, where I will be filming it in its entirety, the UK Games Expo. But yeah, that's about it from me. Until next time, guys, stay safe or die rolling.